And do you what have you had like labels reaching out or interest?
What? So you don't know that yet. Hey.
What if the villain everyone loved to hate was actually a deliberate creation? What if Adela's shocking elimination from Popstar Academy was just the first act of a much bigger, way more profitable scheme? Hyde Geffen kicked her out, painted her as the bad guy, but here's a wild thought. Was Adela Dragova's dramatic exit from Katseye's camp and her successful run as an independent artist just an elaborate setup by the very people who seem to reject her? The pop music world owes absolutely no strangers to drama, rivalries, and stories that pull at our heartstrings, making us dedicated to our faves. We've seen a million underdog tales, comebacks, and shocking betrayals, but the story of Adela, the Slovak singer-songwriter, who really got people talking on the docuseries Popstar Academy, might be the juiciest one yet. Born November 27, 2003, Adela's path to entertainment was ingrained at a young age. Before becoming a pop star, she trained as a serious ballet dancer, even studying in Moscow, Vienna, and then the English National Ballet School in London. Shortly after, in 2022, she traveled to Los Angeles, ready to fight for a spot in the global girl group Katseye, a massive project by Hybe and Geffen Records. It's kind of weird how Adela was a big part of the Netflix docuseries Popstar Academy, since that show was based off the competition series Dream Academy, in which Adela got eliminated early on in the show. And this might be random, but another notable dismissal was Lexi. But shout out to Lexi, she's a real one. If you don't know, she dipped from the competition when she saw how low the team were taking things.
That whole situation just broke my heart.
We needed a more compelling storyline. I understood why many of the girls were hurt. It was one of our highest rating view counts.
It just didn't align with my values, and that was a hard moment for me.
It's really clear to us that you don't want to be here anymore, so we have to let you go.
No, I agree.
These contestants were being pitted against each other and emotionally abused for no real reason. I hear a lot of excuses about perfection and the high standards of pop stardom, which I'm like, okay, if it was 20 years ago, I'd buy that excuse, but the bar has been lowered to hell now, so they didn't need to go through all that. 1 year of training would have been enough to compete in the Western field.
I was on it for 2 years. I should have made it.
But I guess since they're a K-pop group, they had to adhere to more rigorous standards. And honestly, like, is it really that serious? Most people don't even look for label deals. They just kind of go the independent route, but it's neither here or there. Seeing everything the girls went through in such a candid way really put a sour taste in my mouth. I gotta be honest, I want to see their team fail, especially when considering how Hybe wants to use them as a stepping stone into the American market. It feels a little bit like cultural imperialism. Unfortunately, their team failing would mean the group would fail as well, but I'd argue right now the girls can jump ship and become successful indie artists. I just want the CD executives behind them to fail. Anyways, back to Adela. For most people, being eliminated so early in the competition, it would have been game over.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up.
Let's go!
For Adela, it was a new beginning, because soon after the docuseries drops, she releases original music, and then she's in the middle of a bidding war amongst different labels, and fast forward to May, and it's announced that she signed with Capitol Records. And to my guesstimation, it took her 8 months since the drop of her first single to May of 2025 to be signed to a major label. But it might have been sooner because that budget was upgraded for Machine Girl's music video, and her guest features, Grimes and Sophia Wiley, weren't free. I mean, looking further back, I should have known she had a team behind her. The cinematography alone for her first singles were too polished for a new independent artist. Them backup dancers cost money, the choreography. Not to mention, Adela was featured on big outlets almost immediately when she was dropping music. Which, speaking of, she was on the Coco Moco show, and I think one of her requirements for artists to be on the show is that they need to be signed to a label beforehand.
And do you what have you had like labels reaching out or interest?
It's also like a difficult situation to figure out.
So yeah, maybe she had a development deal, then got a label deal, but I really don't know. Who knows? However, this makes me wonder how much of her independent success was real. Okay, let's go back to Dream Academy and that Netflix docuseries Popstar Academy. Lovely names, by the way. I didn't watch the competition show that much because it wasn't that exciting to me, but fans loved Adela. From what I can gather, she was a standout talent. She just wasn't meant for a group. I did watch the docuseries though, and from what I could tell, they did her a little dirty. The docuseries didn't show her full talent. I remember they emphasized her as a dancer and there were issues with her performances.
Comments like these on my page that are like, oh, I know you were a dancer, but I wish you could do the vocal mission. I was actually a vocalist in the show. I auditioned as a vocalist. I got in as a vocalist. My specialty was vocals, but yeah, just wanted to clear that up. I was a vocalist in the show.
I didn't know that she could even sing really until she left. Not to mention the way she was shown on Netflix. Everyone noticed that she had the random villain arc that kind of made her popular in a way. Her big sister image was shaken up by this infamous scene.
Manon, she's getting so much attention. You know, people are upset because she doesn't put a lot of effort and she doesn't show up for her teams a lot. And so people are upset that she is the person who's getting so much attention. It's not based on anything right now. It's just because she's pretty, and that's true. She is pretty.
Is Manon here?
No, she's not here.
Okay.
This was perceived to be somewhat racist. Some thought that she was discrediting Manon's talents, thinking she was just getting passes based off her looks. And a lot of people saw it as mean girl behavior. Lord, it was a lot. A lot of hating on Adela while the docuseries aired.
Bitter. People do call me bitter. Maybe you should do that. Of course.
Oh my god.
Ooh, ouch. But old girl took it in stride, making sure that attention was redirected to her music. Some saw her elimination as justice, others saw her star power and felt a little confused. This girl was an all-rounder. It just didn't make any sense. How would a show whose premise is about creating perfect pop stars let go of someone so talented? Well, nevertheless, it got people talking, sparked debates, and made Adela a name to remember. The quote-unquote villain narrative in her exit created instant buzz and a small loyal fan base. That kind of emotional reaction from an audience, that's pure gold in music biz. Maybe the stage wasn't set for her to disappear, rather, it was set for a new, even juicier storyline. So after Adela left Dream Academy, the competition show, she started going to college and working on original music. She knew the docuseries was coming out and wanted to align her releases to the show.
What I did is I finished my high school because I had to drop out of high school for the show. So I finished that. I applied for college and I was doing sessions because I knew that I wanted to put something out for when the show was going to come out.
Smart girl. I think we all peeped how she was juicing the show for clout.
And I'm trying to be an artist and I need to get clout. That's how you get signed these days. So
as she should have, the show was using her as well. But looking back, I'm wondering if she had some insider knowledge about the series. Adela mentioned being ignorant of how much she was heavily featured, but it's hard to believe when she's still so close to the Katseye members behind the scenes. Because next thing you know, all her releases are getting 1 million views and or streams, which at the time I'm like, wow, that show is really helping her out.
The songs are doing well, but it's coming from a real organic fan base of people just being interested in what I do from the show. And also, then my art keeps them there.
Yeah, I don't know about that being completely true. Her debut solo single, Homewrecker, which dropped in the fall of 2024, showed off a totally different vibe than what you expect from Katseye. Since Katseye is very commercial, there's an effort to be family-friendly enough to sell, you know what I mean? So they're very much teen pop, which, mind you, the genre has evolved from the past. But let me just clarify. I do believe that they're a K-pop group, okay, but K-pop targets young people, kids or tweens or teens or young adults, young people, right? And Katseye kind of falls into that category. In the West, in our industry over here, we do have artists that kind of align with the same demo that they try to go for. You know, the cookie cutter type of pop stars, they have a more grittier look as opposed to how they were in the past. Now they can get away with showing more cleavage, cheeks, legs, and they can cuss now. They have a very boy next girl or girl next door image. They're still very safe. Adela, though, is edgy, dramatic, and more of a provocateur that totally distinguishes her brand from the group she almost joined. Her music, her messaging, her videos made that loud and clear. The follow-up single, Superstar, touched on the idol system that the competition show wanted her to conform to. Adela tells of the corruption and the negative impact the training had on her, scarring her for life.
The training, as exciting as it was and as grateful as I am for it, stripped away a lot of my identity from me, because you're kind of trained to fulfill somebody else's vision for a group.
Fast forward to Machine Girl in 2025, and this is yet another song criticizing the pop machine. More specifically, how it pits women against each other. Adela had already carved out a unique voice and was building worlds with her music, which is super impressive considering it can take years for artists to understand their identity. Could it be that she was on a secret, pre-decided path this whole time? Dun dun dun. Then in May of 2025, the news hits. Adela had signed to Capitol Records, a major label who's had an explosive few years with stars like Katy Perry, Ice Spice, and Doechii. And this is where things get really interesting. Katseye is a team-up between Hybe and Geffen Records. Geffen Records is under Interscope Geffen A&M. Adela, as we know, now is signed with Capitol Records. On the surface, they look like different companies, but what if they're not as separate as we think? Boom! In March 2024, there was a huge shakeup in the music world. Interscope, Geffen, A&M, and Capitol Music Group merged to create Interscope Capitol Labels Group, or ICLG for short. Let that sink in. Geffen, Katseye's label, and Capitol, Adela's new label, are basically the same. And of course, they are under the giant corporate roof of UMG. Suddenly, Adela signing to Capitol doesn't seem like an inspirational, well-deserved trophy of her hard work. It seems more like an internal company transfer. Think about it. Interscope Geffen, through its hand in the Popstar Academy docuseries, gave Adela a ton of screen time. They helped craft that villain image in her big dramatic exit, and then almost like magic, she lands at Capitol, another part of the exact same machine. This probably isn't just a happy accident.
That's just what I think.
It's all speculation. I really don't know for sure. It's giving Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC all over again. I gotta be careful what I wish for. So what's the big plan here? If my theory is right, Interscope Capitol Labels Group could be playing a seriously smart long game. They got Katseye, a globally hyped girl group backed by the hit factory Hybe, and at the same time they got Adela, the quote-unquote rejected talent, the exciting underdog, the mean girl everyone loves to hate, or maybe the misunderstood anti-hero. However you want to see her, is now killing it as a solo act with her own edgy style, the perfect antithesis to the super commercial group like Katseye. It's perfect. The labels can nurture a supposed rivalry, sparking endless online debates, comparison videos, who's better arguments, all of which means tons of free publicity. For both Katseye and Adela, it's genius marketing. Really all spun from a storyline they might have cooked up themselves. I can see Stan Twitter and fan accounts eating this up. Adela's music even seems to play into this drama. Like I mentioned before, her singles, Superstar, and her newer releases, Machine Girl, explore themes of spectacle and conflict. Machine Girl especially is set to critique how female conflict is turned into a show in pop culture, and the video even alludes to the beef between her and Manon. But I can't help but wonder, is this Adela, the artist, winking at her own possibly manufactured story? A little nod to those of us wondering who's pulling the strings? Who knows? Dun dun dun.
You know what it never was? That's serious.
It's all just speculation. Now, of course, there's another side to this. Adela herself has said that there's no actual beef between her and the Katseye girls, and she's had good relationships with her old trainees, and they're actually really genuine friends. And that could totally be true. The artists themselves might genuinely have no bad feelings and are just focused on their own careers. Friendships can definitely survive after professional splits. It's also possible that Adela's talents were just too big to ignore, and Capitol Records saw that after Dream Academy. It made her a real offer, totally separate from Hybe's plan. Maybe her quote-unquote villain portrayal was just an unlucky result of how reality TV works, not a grand scheme for a solo launch. Maybe she really was cut simply because she couldn't be in a group, and her success was all due to her strength and appeal, making a huge label like Capitol to sit up and take notice. But in the cutthroat world of the music industry, especially when there's so much money and potential profit on the line, coincidences like this usually deserve a closer look. Adela saying, oh, there's no drama, blah blah blah, could be part of a game, keeping up the mutual respect while the story of competition quietly bubbles away through branding, song themes, and fan theories. It's a much savvier move if the plan is to keep the buzz going. It makes her look classy while all the who's better and what if conversations keep swirling around, all to the benefit of the main label strategy. In my head, Interscope Capital Labels Group, they didn't lose a potential star. They strategically moved one. This could be the gift that keeps on giving. ICLG cashes in on Katseye's success and Adela's success. This could be classic controlled opposition. If there's going to be a rivalry, why not have it between two acts you can control? You can shape the story, manage the artist, and make sure it helps you and your business at the end. Speaking of rivalry, I am wondering where Hybe fits into all this. They were the ones to convince Interscope Geffen to make a global K-pop group, so with them signing on Adela, it makes me think that Interscope wants more control with Katseye if they're using Adela to help hype them up in America and vice versa. What happens to Hybe? Popstar Academy wasn't just a competition show. It might have been UMG's Popstar Incubator. It's literally their Mickey Mouse Club. They can eat off the fandom Hybe was shaping up and break in new artists stateside. Looking at you, Carly.
Get ready with me to hang out with Carly, 'cause she got eliminated. And now she's back from Korea, and we can hang out.
To clarify, I don't think Carly wants to be a global superstar, but I don't think it's coincidental that she's being moved like Adela as well, keeping close affiliates with Katseye and the old Dream Academy members. Regardless of this being like genuine friendships, it keeps her relevant. When Carly dropped her first single, it was given budget, like the production, and seemingly unsigned. Listen, I'm not mad at any of this. I really wanted Adela to get signed because I thought she had the talent to be a major star, and I loved the dramatic lore she had. I'm just mad at myself because it's pretty obvious what was going on with Adela and Carly, and I didn't clock it until late in the game. Anyways, tell me what you think. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe.